Okay, we'll be starting in a minute. Okay. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Challenges Facing Women in Tech, second edition, a webinar organized by SHE at SICCI, Singapore Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. It is the second in a series of dialogues celebrating the achievements of women in tech. Just to share a few house rules, all participants' mics will be muted and videos will be switched off to avoid any technical disruptions. If you have any queries, please type your questions by clicking the Q&A button below on your screen. Kindly take note this webinar session is recorded for archiving and training purposes.
So I'm going to start now.
1 second, Ms Shobha, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so welcome everyone. This is the program schedule of today's session. So Ms Shobha will be giving us the opening address, followed by the speakers will be Ms Deepika Chopra, Ms Surabhi Krishna Singh, Ms Jeeta, and Ms Shika Malhotra. And then after that, we'll be having a Q&A session. And then we'll be ending off by Mr. Johnson Paul. So it's an hour session. Okay, so please feel free to have any questions in mind, and then please do ask us in the Q&A section. So let me introduce our speaker, Ms. Shobha. For the opening address, I'd like to introduce Ms. Shobha. She is a board director at Singapore Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the chairperson of SHE at SICCI. She's also the founder of India Say Media Private Limited. Ms. Shobha is a well-known journalist with extensive experience as a print and online journalist and media entrepreneur. She made a name as an award-winning journalist in the Straits Times and today with her incisive, cutting-edge opinion columns and groundbreaking stories. Ms. Shobha founded India Say Media in 2007, the first media company serving the Indian diaspora in Southeast Asia. She began her working life as a management trainee in India's largest bank, the State Bank of India. Before starting her own media company, Ms. Shobha was also the editor of the Equities Department of OCBC Bank. She was then headhunted by ING Barings as regional research editor of their equities division. Ms. Shobha, please.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second Women in Tech seminar organized by SHE at SICCI, as Radha has told you. This is the second in our dialogue celebrating the achievements of women in the tech industry. Women as we are the kind of women we're featuring today. The Singapore Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry recognizes the important role of women in the evolving technology space. Therefore, this webinar. I have to thank our chairman, Dr. T. Chandru, the SHE committee, Ms. Purnima and Mr. Kishore, my vice chairman, and as well as the board of directors of SICCI and our CEO, Mr. Johnson Paul, and our wonderful secretariat team. For those who don't know, let me give you a little bit of history on SHE at SICCI. It's the women's wing of this chamber. With the support of SICCI's chairman, Dr. Chandru, and my fellow board of directors, and in line with the goals of the chamber, my team and I relaunched SHE at SICCI in August this year. SHE stands for Sisterhood of Entrepreneurs, and that's exactly what we plan to be. A strong social enterprise of women entrepreneurs and professionals. From the earlier WEN, Women's Entrepreneur Network, we have made a major leap forward to SHE, both in scope and execution. From being mainly a networking platform, we have evolved into a holistic entrepreneurial platform to empower and support women entrepreneurs. In line with this, we have chosen a name based on our brand vision and values. The name SHE is an acronym for Sisterhood of Entrepreneurs. It is short, simple, and immediately identifiable as an outfit for women in business. It conveys our brand vision of entrepreneurship with a heart. Yes, it's a pronoun, but it goes so much beyond just a gender indicator and is strong enough to stand on its own, like the all-powerful and invincible woman in the classic novel She by Rider Haggard. She conveys cooperation, cohesiveness, commitment, and compassion. This is what defines us and differentiates us from the dog-eat-dog of the male-dominated business world. I hope you all agree. This is She's second event in our post-COVID journey in helping and struggling and new women entrepreneurs. As part of our goals, we plan to start, this is Deepika Chopra's idea, we plan to start a crisis response system and also facilitate microlending for needy women entrepreneurs in Singapore. I hope this webinar makes you interested enough to join us as a member. All women members of SICCI automatically become members of She at SICCI. SICCI is probably the oldest business chamber in Singapore. It has served the needs of local Indian businesses and the business community at large since 1924. We strive to give our members a competitive edge in the global market by providing them with diverse insights, connections, and support services. SICCI also aims to be the gateway of opportunity for Indian businesses in Singapore, helping both homegrown and international companies realize their full potential. Our SME Center has customized information services for SMEs. Our first webinar on the 26th of October centered around how women negotiate their place within the tech industry. This session will focus more on the specific challenges women face as they attempt to enter the tech industry and even as they progress through it. The recent APEC Policy Partnership on Women and the Economy Report identified several key challenges faced by women in businesses. Gender discrimination and limited access to finance in terms of pay and capital were chief among such concerns. Workplace discrimination and the gender pay gap continue to discourage many women from entering the tech industry. And it's a shame because in all my years of working life, which is more than 40, almost 42 years or more, it has been the same problem. We've been crying about the same problem and it doesn't seem to have improved much. So it's a long haul, you know, and we all of us have to coordinate and support each other in realizing our goal and getting rid of these discriminations. Stereotypes of women in tech must be constantly challenged by both women and men. Cultivating a culture of diversity and inclusivity is everyone's responsibility. Another issue is that many women in the tech industry lack the relevant skills and experience as well as crucial mentoring networks. So this is an issue that's very apparent as the notion of tech is a very male-oriented field and it continues to be so. As women who have made progress in tech, like our speakers here, we need to support and nurture others who wish to enter the tech industry. We must do more to recognize the achievements of women, as many as them have to accomplish much more than their male counterparts just to be equally visible. Another issue I'd like to highlight is the pervasive fear of failure among women in the tech industry. Of course, that's also prevalent among others in the tech industry, and especially with the pandemic, it's caused so much fear all around. But for women, with the added hurdles that we have to overcome, this fear of failure weighs down much more heavily on us. To overcome this, we need to realize that this is not a competition. The only way we as women in the tech industry can progress and continually find success is by collaborating with each other and supporting one another. United we stand, divided we fall. I think I've spoken enough on these issues, and I'm certain our brilliant speakers will have much more to say. Please feel free our dear viewers to come in and join this speech and ask the questions you want to of them. All four were recognized by the Singapore Computer Society in its 100 Women of IT list of 2020. First off, we have Deepika Chopra, founder and CEO of Reboot, and a very successful entrepreneur for whom I have a high regard. I know her well as she's a member of my team at SHE. Deepika has a master's in international business from Columbia University, a master's in economics from Delhi School of Economics. She's also a serial entrepreneur with over 2 decades of experience with Fortune 100 companies, a venture capital firm, and startups across the world. She co-founded and led 3 successful startups. She has also held senior positions with Pillsbury, and she was a venture partner with Trident Capital, a multi-stage venture capital firm where she established Trident's investment footprint in India. Her passion is to equip others with the ability to help themselves and has driven her to start her company in Singapore called Reboot. So let's have it from you, Deepika. I think I'll also give you a short little CV of the others who are coming. The second we'll be having is Surbhi Krishna Singh. So after Deepika's speech, all of you please stay. There's a lot more interesting things still there. So there's Surbhi Singh, Krishna Singh, the co-founder and CEO of Firevisor Systems. It's an AI advanced manufacturing defect detection and analytics platform. Wow, that's a mouthful. Surbhi graduated with a master's in material science at NUS, working for semiconductor giants like Seagate and Micron. She spent years improving production lines by building automation systems that saved countless man hours and up to 80% of costs. Her ingenuity was recognized at Micron as well as globally. Knowing that advancements in AI could vastly improve manufacturing processes, Ms. Singh built Firevisor to change the industry. Now, isn't that nice? Look at that young lady. That's really an achievement. Then we have Geeta Bandhopadhyay, the co-founder and COO of Tukitaki. That's easy to remember. Tukitaki is a red tech company. It's in the regulatory sector that provides enterprise-ready software solutions in regulatory compliances for the banking and financial services industry. Based in Singapore, Tukitaki is innovating the $100 billion regulatory compliance space by delivering machine learning powered solutions that are actionable, scalable, and explainable. Tukitaki basically focuses on anti-money laundering and reconciliation. Geeta is responsible for product design, marketing, client engagements, and operations. She has more recently been recognized as the Entrepreneur of the Year by Women in IT Awards Asia and was featured in Singapore's 100 Women in Tech list, which celebrates women who have made significant contributions to the tech industry in Singapore. Last but not least, we have Shikha Malhotra. Shikha is an active startup consultant and coach advising early stage tech ventures on their partnerships and investor relations strategy. Currently, she's a partner and chief advisor to STEM, a sustainable retail startup based in India and recently launched in Singapore. After completing her engineering degree in India, Shikha worked in the MarTech marketing technology domain for over 6 years on portfolios of some of the leading Fortune 500 companies across tech, retail, and FMC, fast-moving consumer goods industries. She graduated with an MBA from the National University of Singapore in July and was named one of the 100 Posts and Quant's Best and Brightest MBA 2020 and McKinsey Next Generation Women Leader 2020 for her contributions as a mentor and in alleviating unconscious bias in the workplace. So we have another mentor in you, Shikha. Please join me in welcoming our first speaker, Deepika. Over to you.
Thank you, Shobha. And thank you for speaking so eloquently and making all of us look so good, especially me.
You are.
And again, thank you, SICCI, for organizing such incredible series of talks. And I'm really looking forward to an engaging session. So I'm just going to share a couple of slides to share my thoughts with you all. So just let me know if you can see it. Okay. So can you guys see?
Yes.
Okay. So when I learned about this topic, challenges faced by women in tech, I was a little taken aback because I was like, why women in tech? Why not just talk about challenges faced by the tech industry, by all of us? Because I don't really personally see myself as a woman in a certain sector. And maybe that's because I really haven't personally encountered too many challenges, especially because I'm a woman. I've kind of looked at it like, okay, these are the obstacles and this is what we have to overcome. But when I started looking at the research, the macro statistics told a very different story, and unfortunately a sad story, like Shobha just alluded to, that it's been going on for the last 40 years and there hasn't been actually too much progress. So what are the reasons that we feel that we are not getting our due and we don't get motivated enough to move forward the way men do? So first is that one of the reasons is that you see a lot of inherent bias and prejudice in the industry. And it really starts right from the beginning. So when you look at, how many girls, maybe 1 in 3 girls will even take up a STEM career. And even that, as they go along, Georgetown University did a study, you see a lot of girls drop out and change their majors. So let's take a step back and see, why is this happening? Are boys and girls biologically tuned differently towards science versus humanities? No. When you look at the research, it shows that boys are slightly better at the spatial tasks than girls, but only maybe like 0.5%, and girls are better at the verbal tasks, but not really enough to impact their choice. In fact, if you look at primary school, girls are outsmarting boys at math. And when they come to secondary schools, the classwork, the girls grade higher than the boys, but it's the exams that you actually see that in math and science, the girls start faring worse. And here's the reason: anxiety and lack of belief in yourself. So you are kind of, society has ingrained this in all of us, that these are careers and these are courses which are much more comfortable for boys than girls. And hence girls start feeling a sense of anxiety when they come around those courses. And then this whole impact of socialization, which is that you want to choose courses where you're comfortable being around like-minded people. So they start gravitating towards non-STEM. And then this whole thing about belief in yourself. Am I up to it? So that's one more reason that you'll start dropping out of science and math courses. So that's where the problem really starts, in high school. And you'll notice that even companies like Mattel, when they made their Barbie dolls, the only career that they gave their Barbie dolls was maybe a women executive or a lawyer. And very recently, they actually made a computer scientist, literally in 2020, Barbie doll. There's a Barbie doll computer scientist. And guess what? She's still carrying a hot pink briefcase. So it doesn't leave us. So these gender biases are so pervasive that how much ever we try to avoid them, it's difficult to. And then let's look at another reason. So another reason is there's a lack of role models and mentors. And so to start with, we are seeing there are few women in tech, and then fewer reach the top and become senior enough to become visible. And until you're visible, you're not going to be a role model. And don't underestimate the impact of role models. They actually amplify the benefit for women, because they are the ones who challenge the gender biases and the institutional barriers and the negative stereotypes. But when you don't see them enough, you don't believe in it. So that's another reason. Sorry, it just kind of jumped on that. Okay, and then the third reason, which we all love about ourselves, that we actually have the opportunity to be mothers to these incredible children. But what really happens down the road is when you come back after having a baby, then you either lose, especially in tech, you've kind of lost a time period to keep on track with the skills. So suppose you're out of the workforce for 4 years, definitely the industry is galloping. And so you really need to come back and upskill, which is another barrier. And like Shobha just mentioned that my latest startup is called Reboot, and it's about coaching. And the one thing I'll tell you, we work with companies like Visa and YouTube, etc. And all these companies are so concerned with the drop of the women that they lose after the second baby, because somehow the women come back after the first baby, but even when they come back, they are constantly questioning their confidence, their motivation, but it's after the second baby there is a significant drop off. And the companies are very concerned, not for the women, but more for commercial reasons, and also optically, how do they look? Because they don't show gender diversity. But the bigger thing is they are very concerned because they invest so much in these people, and then they just refuse to come back to work. So the one thing that we do for these companies is they actually ask us to do that. Can you create a women coaching program to reinstill their self-confidence? And I was just blown away that why would I lose my confidence when I'm coming back? But people do. They are not as fearless as they used to be. They change in their personality because they've been out of work. Now take a man and put him out of work for 5 years. I doubt he'll even try coming back. Hopefully there were not too many men listening to me. So the last one.
I hope there are.
Yeah, or I'm happy to answer your questions if you have any. Okay, so the last one is lower wages. So again, this is a vicious cycle. Because the women believe less in themselves, during the process of the interview, they won't negotiate as hard as men. And they will just take the bare minimum or whatever they feel comfortable with. And then they're locked into that as being their last salary drawn. And so you cannot blame men for leading the industry by 61% than women with the same education and skill set, because it really goes back to us creating our own vicious cycle and then getting locked in it. So those are some of the reasons why I think that we are facing challenges. And honestly, like, I don't want to get into solutions because obviously I would love to hear the other speakers now, but I just want to leave one thought here, that it really is about our individual attitudes and our individual beliefs in ourselves. And if we do change that collectively, we can challenge the environment.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Deepika. You've come up with some very salient and very deep-rooted problems. Can I just be the first to ask a question or to raise, to throw in some questions which any of you can you or anybody else can answer? You spoke about structural and systemic issues in the industry, and that all these problems seem to come from school days, in how it makes women the gender bias starts from school, from high school, where children had started in primary and in Montessori, KG, they do better than the boys, and even in maths. And then it goes on to even in the wider industry, even in the playthings, even in entertainment, women are shown as less capable or wanting only the softer things in life, like Barbie doll, gender biases in it, where even those official suitcases, bags it carries are big. But most importantly, I found the role models. You kept saying we have so few role models, and these are the ones who can help us challenge gender biases, and that's very true. But we have had a few very outstanding role models. And if we just talk about, say, two outstanding ones, and especially one being an Indian and worldwide renown, is Indra Nooyi. And we've also had Sheryl Sandberg. That's another great woman in the tech industry. But Indra Nooyi, since this is an Indian, Singapore Indian Chamber of Commerce, she was really up there and out there. But I'm not very sure. We keep trotting her out, and we've kept trotting her out ad nauseum, but I'm not very sure how much she's done to be a really good role model for all women, because in her case, I don't know whether she addressed the weaknesses and the challenges, because she was so much up there. She was one of the IIT and IIM bright stars, and then throughout, it appears to me that she tried to outman the men. Just like this is the problem with Indian or women role models in the tech industry or in the corporations. We tend to try to outman the men in order to succeed. But we should actually be carving a path achievements that are women oriented. Why does it have to be exactly like what the men do? Because women can't stay back after work and have drinks like the men do at any time of the day. They go back to their children. It's the caring, the nurturing that women still have to do. Unfortunately, the major part of it falls on the women. These are things that are not taken care of at all. So it looks to me it's also class bias. If you can achieve, if you can afford help at home, you obviously will do better at work. But you still, at the same time, have some kind of responsibility at work, which the male doesn't seem to have. And many of these women who've reached the top there don't seem to take these kind of weaknesses in the structural sense, to become role models. So actually, I think our role models need to change. They need to be more women-centric, even if they are women. Sometimes it can be a man who's more soft and who understands women's problems. But generally speaking, I've been a bit disappointed in seeing the role modeling of Indra Nui, or I know I'm being an iconoclast here, but what do you say? I'm just throwing this open to everybody.
Sorry, Ms. Shobha, would you want to shall we conduct this during the Q&A session?
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah, so maybe Ms.
Vedika,
she could respond to this question later.
Sure. I was just trying to tell you that this is a very good topic that you came up with, these ideas. And I think maybe people will be ready to speak about it later. There'll be more questions on it. Then we have Surbhi. Surbhi, I think I've already spoken about. So let's hear you.
So, hi everyone. Thank you so much, Ms. Shobha and Ms. Deepika, for the amazing introductions, and especially for actually, walking us through the specific points related to the systematic bias that women face, and also the specific challenges and where they come from, right? So that's the important part. Like, we can keep talking about, that this is the problem, that is the problem, but unless we sort of go back and fix where they come from, we are probably not going to ever fix it. So I think I'll keep it more conversational and more sort of unstructured in a way. So I'll start with a bit of a recap about my background. So yeah, as you guys know, I've been a manufacturing process engineer myself before, and now I run an AI tech company, both of which are traditionally, what you would call male-dominated industries. But surprisingly, I had really amazing role models throughout. So one thing which I would like to point out was I had sort of, role models closer to home or like around me. So for example, in Micron, I had my boss, who was one of the very few female mechanical engineers who was herself sort of like, she was really high up, but like, the moment there was a trouble with the machine, she would jump in there. And she did that even when she was pregnant. She would just jump in there and she like start fixing all the things. And then it was superb to look at a woman like her, right? I mean, she can do it, of course I can, right? So I was really blessed to have a role model closer to home. And then even when I decided to start a company, there were others. So, even in Singapore, you guys must have heard of Pranoti Nagarkar of Rotimatic. And then on the global scale, I really look up personally to Whitney of Bumble, and then there's Sarah Blakely of Spank. So yeah, these are people I really follow quite a lot, as well as to have certain role models to look up to. So I do think that, there are people out there, maybe you have to pick and choose your own heroes, but there are quite a few role models that you can look up to in that case. Of course, even with that happening, we have a lot of problems. Like, just to share two personal experiences, like back in Micron, I was told that, oh, your nail paint doesn't look good, and your nail paint should be in order, and girls are not supposed to go and work on machines all their life. Try and move into a different domain, like your nail paint doesn't look good. I was like, okay, sure, thanks for the feedback. Maybe I would go to HR, but you know what, I'm just going to go back to my machine. So yeah, that was one. And then even when you're, in tech, there's this specific area whereby, you go about fundraising. So anyone here on the panel who's done before would know that there's also a huge systemic bias there that happens. So just a quick Google search would tell you that only 2.9% of the entire VC money that was raised in 2019 was raised by women founders. Only 2.9%. That with the fact that every dollar that is invested in the VC world gives 78% returns if it's a woman-founded company versus 31% returns if it's a male-founded company. Which to me, your numbers are talking here. You don't even need to, I don't personally like this segregation of male-founded companies versus female-founded companies. But at the end of the day, when you feel like, okay, the numbers are really, really skewed, then you probably need to bring up, such points whereby the numbers are telling you that, your investment is worth, it's quite worthy, like it's bringing you your value on the dollar. So these are some of the things that need to be fixed, and especially, and also on a personal level, sometimes in a few of these, I guess in some funny scenarios, people would ask me that, oh, like, what if the company fails and you decide to get married? I was like, what is the connection here? Like, if I decide to get married, how will the company fail?
They wouldn't ask that of a man.
Yes, exactly. And so my co-founder doesn't get that asked ever. And he's like sitting right next to me, like answering the exact same questions. We are like, pretty much the same age with the same idea doing this together. But then, yeah, I get that asked that and he doesn't. So that happens. I guess they have their, fair bit of concerns, which I would want to clarify. But yeah, again, I do hope for a world whereby, we don't have to be answering these questions as females anymore. But yeah, overall, I would like to say that these are all still one-off, let's say, situations or one-off occurrences. To me personally, I haven't, like Deepika also said, that I haven't faced a lot of bias. Like, it has not been to a point where I'm like frustrated, or why did I even do this? In fact, it's been the opposite at a lot of places where I was noticed more, probably because traditionally you only see men in these meeting rooms, and then there's one female talking about things. And yeah, and I didn't have to change, like some people had to change things about themselves, like they would make it a point to go down to meetings in bikes and dress more in a more male fashion to sort of come across as power figures. I personally didn't have to do any of that, so I'm grateful for that. I didn't have to change myself to seem more manly, to seem credible. So yeah, I'm happy about that fact. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it that I wanted to cover, and then yeah, we can move on to Geeta and Shikha next. Thanks so much.
So is that all you okay, we'll wait, we'll ask you questions. I think now we have Geeta Bandhopadhyay. Geeta?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
So thanks, Shobha, for introducing so nicely of me.
Sorry, Geeta, could you
louder?
Yes. Thank you.
Am I audible?
It's too soft.
How about now?
Little better, yes.
Okay. So thank you, Shobha, for the lovely introduction, I think, in the beginning. And thanks, SICCI, for organizing this panel and hearing us out, the women leaders. We heard Deepika, we heard Surbhi, and they stated their own experiences, and Deepika also brought about some challenges in the very primitive ages versus a woman and a male child. For Surbhi, she stated some of her own experiences. So for me, I would just like to touch upon all the 4 points, and I would like to state my own personal experience in what I believe that young women or girl entrepreneurs or any women in workplace should like to how to overcome this kind of situations. So I would like to start from a view that, today we really live in an inspirational or extraordinary world, right? Where we are inspired by the likes of women leaders like Michelle Obama, Sheryl Sandberg, Whitney Wolf, and many others. And I believe the inspiring stories and success of these heroes really has really motivated, entrepreneurs like me. And this has also helped me to break the glass ceiling and fight fiercely back for any kind of discrimination or biases, even in advanced, technology field like deep tech that we are in. So to state some facts, I would like to bring in the positive lights first. I was just researching around those, and I figured out that today there are like 114% more female entrepreneurs than there were 20 years ago in the US alone. Very recent numbers, I'm quoting 2019 numbers of World Bank. And if I just do a translation, what it equates to, it means that we have 849 new female founded businesses every day. So it's not, it's a great number. And if I look at Latin America and Caribbean, they have the highest 50% SMEs and MSMEs owned by women. And Chile is the world leader in that. Now, if I come to South Asia, it is 18%. So of course, the number is not great. So there are many women globally who have been able to beat the odds and, the stereotypes, especially in the startup world. So let's look at the challenges from that point of view. So if I look at the first challenge we have, like access to finance. Yeah. So if I look at the SME and the MSME market in the emerging economies, so we have a total uncapped, unmet credit demand of 1.7 trillion for women businesses. So there is definitely access to finance. There is a challenge. We cannot deny the fact. And but I believe that, however, like press, social media, forums like this, talk sessions like this will drive the awareness and will create policy changes in certain economies. And there are, economies who are trying to figure out grants, loans, be it Singapore itself, if I talk about, grants for women, or making the loan, if I want to borrow something for my own business, making the loan rates attractive. And microfinance are some of the small steps in the right direction. London has come up with something, Singapore is doing, Indonesia has come up as an emerging economy. So India is also trying to do something through NASCOM. So I believe that, there are opportunities which are happening, but of course we might have to walk some miles to get the best out of it. Personally speaking, as a startup entrepreneur, I did not have to face that much of a problem in access to finance, because we have been able to raise like more than 20 million US dollars from the time we started in the last 3 to 4 years. And I believe why we have been able to do that. So sometimes women might, we are so disciplined, we might get something operational while we are pitching. So fundraising is also a kind of a full-time job. And there are a lot of materials available in the, in the internet itself today. So what we can do is that we personally, did some pitch practices. We figured out how to present the big picture, and also to present the risk and returns, not like getting too much operational in the view, but presenting the big picture and the risk and returns to the venture capitalists, so that they get your story and they actually invest in the idea and the team. That's how venture capitalists invest. Actually, they invest in the very initial stage, they invest in the founders, they invest in the idea, they invest in the team. So how well you can present that is something, you need to learn and master that. So that is how I would like to put it. Coming to gender discrimination, of course, I've heard some horrid stories where women are shut down from even, telling their ideas or sharing their, thoughts. But I believe that it happens maybe less now, and thanks to the great women leadership that exists today, and also women who stand up and speak up. So I think that if you are respectful and diligent to learn the fundamentals of the areas you are leading, for example, when I took up product development and product design in Tukitaki, I do not come from that background. I come from a master's in English and a marketing and communications background. So I literally had to do a lot of self-study, sort of self-reading. But once I'm able to pick up the fundamentals, my peers or my colleagues or my juniors whom I'm leading, they respect me for that. So respectful and diligent to learning would be a point of view that I would like to place when it comes to, how to maybe object a little bit of gender discrimination, and tech industry has been fairly welcoming to that point of view, I would say, and they're, mostly okay for women to share the ideas, who have great ideas and who can, question or challenge the fundamentals and are very strong in when they present their idea. So that's my view from, be it women in workplace or female entrepreneurs. I believe a great way to success is to seek coaching, mentorship, any kind of network connections and opportunity to grow. So I will narrate two of my personal experiences here. So when I was working on behalf of Times of India in India, I was just fresh out of my college. So I took all the opportunities to do any sort of publication work, be it editing, reporting, taking interviews, just talking to advertisers to get their slots in the magazines. So anything, come anything to learn the tricks of the trade. I even used to go like work on Sundays and public holidays. So I basically took my drafts to, the sub-editors or, any of my bosses to basically correct, to get feedback. And looking at my passion, I think two of my bosses, were very high up bosses, not my immediate manager, were very open to coach me. Coming to Tukitaki, I knew nothing about, how to open a business, how to build a business, leave alone machine learning and, distributed systems, which we are doing. So what we did was that I figured out some, basically when I and Abhishek started, we tried to figure out some of the case studies that how startup businesses in Valley has been created. So, so we figured out that one of the ways we're applying and going to accelerator programs or innovation programs. So we also applied to accelerator programs like Microsoft Accelerator in India, Bangalore, Accelerator, which is part of IIM Ahmedabad's program and funded by Center of Entrepreneurship and Science by Government of India. So it's considered to be the Y Combinator of India, Accelerator program. So they only choose tech startups. So we got selected there and we learned actually how to translate an idea to a product market fit, how to build a business plan, how to create legal entities, shareholder structures, how to create ESOP plans for your team members and all those things. So I believe that is very important to have these networks and also understand and have awareness that you can do these kind of things. So I myself am part of the SFA Women in FinTech, and where we generally exchange such ideas, and also something which we have our own WhatsApp group where we try to share this. So women leadership, if you are starting up, accelerator programs is a great way. Peer networks like the SICCI Women Entrepreneur Network, if we can do something like that, then the SFA network are, it helps the female leaders to set high aspirations and to achieve their dreams and do better. That's my view. Coming to fear of failure. So I believe women as a whole demonstrate an amazing traits of discipline, commitment, multitasking, and empathy. All of this are great traits of a leader. So we should just believe in our skills, have the right attitude, as Deepika was mentioning, and a mindset and willingness to learn the unknown, because entrepreneurship is all about invading an unknown territory. So you need to learn the unknown, and you need to have the mindset to do that. I believe there will be setbacks and failures. Of course, we also had many actually, but if we show the grit, because grit is a fundamental aspect or to a successful entrepreneur. So if we show grit and believe in us, we will become successful. I would like to quote here Winston Churchill once said that success is stumbling from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. So being enthusiastic, believing in yourself and showing the grit is, you can defy any kind of social barriers and scale to greater heights. Just like to end this with the thing that, as Survi also mentioned, Deepika also mentioned, that entrepreneurship is all about, there's no women or male. It's all about creating an impact to the society. That's what I believe. That's what entrepreneurs are for. It plays a fundamental role in creating jobs, advancing innovation, and also introducing new products and services that makes our lives better. So we should look at entrepreneurship holistically and shouldn't differentiate between a male and a female business leader. We should choose entrepreneurs who are here to create a difference and willing to devote a large part of lifetime to seeing it through, because it will take time. There is no shortcut to a successful entrepreneur. So I would love to see more and more young girls taking this route and should just keep their inhibitions at home, because they should just have a mindset that they need to see it through, they need to have the willingness to learn, and they need to have the perseverance or the grit to make it happen. So that's how I would like to put an end to this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Geeta, that was really interesting. We'll come back to you for the question and answers. And now may I call Shikha to give us the last but not the least to speak about. And thank you so much, Shikha, for coming in, because Nia could not come. She was very ill and she's just not sure whether she could have made this talk. So she came in at the last minute, but we are so glad you're here. Shikha Malhotra, please, over to you.
Thank you, Shobha ma'am. Thanks for your kind words. And I'm replacing a great speaker, so I would want to justify SICCI selection. I think all the speakers have mentioned some great points. And in the interest of time, I'm sure people want to ask a lot of questions. So I'm just going to keep it very focused on my experience. I have just started out, and I feel that there are a few things that I noticed, and I hope that during my journey, I'm able to conquer them and help other female entrepreneurs conquer those struggles. So, so this was an incident during an entrepreneurial focus group that I was a part of. We had about 50 men and 50 women attending it. And the facilitator asked us to, draw your dream team. And invariably, I think it was about 95% of the focus group, they drew a figure with a mustache and a laptop. And that is including women and men, everybody. And what surprised me is that, of course, there are some inherent biases, and there are things that have been rooted in us since birth. But we have tons and tons of female entrepreneurs now, and even around us, even in Singapore or even in other parts of Asia, in other developing countries, who set great examples. They've been trailblazers in their field, and I think. For now, it is important for the women to step up. Even if they look at people succeeding, you should not question yourself that, oh, she has done it, would I be able to do it? And this is the question I often get when I'm mentoring entrepreneurs. We have worked so hard all our lives. What if this fails? What if I fail? So the key phrase in this is, I have worked hard all my life. Your data point is there. You have the potential to go up there. Why are you focusing on failure? And both failure and success are blind to gender. So regardless of who you are, it is about the talent. It's about how much effort you put in. And if you have the right vision, you take the support of people around you, people who've ventured out themselves or who have been working in the industry for a long time. If you learn from them, actually have, actionable steps on your journey, there is nothing that can stop you. And, both Deepika, Surbhi, they alluded to do data. It is actually true that about, $5 billion were invested in female-founded startups alone in 2020. And regardless of how much went to the males or to male-female founded, it shows that there is still, there's a lot more potential, that there's still momentum for female-founded startups. And if people today feel that they want to go ahead, they should do it. You have to raise your confidence. You have to own your accomplishments, because naysayers will be there regardless of the situation. They'll be there when you're doing good. They'll be there when you're doing bad. So it is the time to step up your game, bridge the gap between your confidence and aspirations. And if you feel that you cannot do it alone, you should reach out to people, and not once, but twice, but so many different times. You might feel that the people are not responding to you, but I think it's that could be because they're busy, but you should keep on following up and, making sure that you build a good network of mentors or sponsors, regardless of whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're in your job. So I think I would leave you with these 2 cents. Women have the exceptional quality of being highly agile and adaptive. COVID has shown us that nothing is fixed. Our plans can change overnight. People who did not adopt technology were forced to do it, in a span of a few months. So considering that women have the adaptability, they have in them to go and understand, customers better because of, being ranked high often on emotional intelligence. I think there should not be anything stopping them. And if they ever feel that, what if this fails, or what if, I am not as successful as somebody else, they should look at their past and see how much how much far they've already come and how much they've already achieved in life. So yes, with that, I think I'll open the floor to questions by your permission, Shobha ma'am.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sika. That was very interesting. That must be coming from your gender, from your having done all that, at NUS when you're doing your MBA. I understand you were specifically the mentor, your great contribution in mentoring.
Yes, that's
alleviating bias in the workplace. I remember putting a question to Deepika, but it's up to her, and I don't want to hog the question space. So if Radha can find questions from the public that are coming up, I can always put up my questions a bit later. I think the public should have first chance.
Sure. Okay, so there's a first question where Ms. Ruby will be actually answering, and also I think she has mentioned here. So Vaibhavi, thanks for your question. I've been punished at work for being confident completing MBA from INSEAD by freezing my salary for a few years. Constant verbal complaint of being ambitious. How to deal such situation? So Ms. Ruby, please. Yeah.
Thanks, Radha. Let me just quickly read through the question again. So, hi Vaibhavi, thank you for sharing this with us. I think number one, this is something rather serious. You are being, very systematically being, I guess, punished for being ambitious. This is not okay for, if you were a male or a female. I'm not sure what is driving this kind of behavior, but number one, if the HR in your company is willing to listen, please reach out to them. If not, I think you should come out more. If you have the bandwidth, you should either come out more publicly about, which is the company and the specific people who are doing this, because this is serious. It can happen to other people and it can keep continuing. If that is not an option, because I understand that can sometimes not be an option. If that is not an option, I would suggest you have your credentials with you. I would suggest you move companies, but at some point keep in mind that when you are in a position to be able to highlight this, please do that, because that will help the other people around you as well. In general, though, yes, first step from my end would be I would reach out to the HR and highlight this to the people. So I have also been in a position where there are systematic sexist or racist biases, but keeping silent does not help anybody. So bring it up to whoever can hear you out, or whoever you think that can possibly fix this for you. I think in retrospect, I would have been better off bringing it up. Sometimes you just get scared, but don't be. There is enough support available for such a situation. So just bring it up. Make sure to bring it up. Yeah.
I'd like to add something here. I just want to kind of reiterate what Surabhi is saying, except say that completely be fearless of the stigma. Because in a lot of situations, and this is where it starts, that you start feeling, let me not highlight it to HR because then I'll become the case and I don't want to be visible about it. And I've just had a long enough career, even in larger organizations and startups, to tell you that a lot of people go through this, and the only people who bring it up and are public about it actually get through it right. So for you to think about leaving the company and joining another position, and because you'll always carry this fear with you, even in the other company, and you'll just be fortunate if somebody doesn't come after you. But you know what? Show the confidence. It's more for your own fight, personal fight, than for this specific issue, because this is how you grow. So I would just say be fearless. Do not worry about what's going to happen, but go slow, go systematic, and don't be emotional. Make sure it's purely fact driven, because a lot of times our emotions come into play.
Yeah.
Can we
Oh, yeah,
move?
just to quickly add on,
That's
make sure
very
you
good.
gather as much evidence for making your case as possible.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. So the next question we have from Mr. Manish Tripathi. He's our vice chairman of SICCI. So here's a question here. So like doctors, lawyers, teachers, women do very well. Is there a reason for this competency-based success? So which of you would like to answer this particular question? Okay, so Deepika, yes, okay, thanks.
Taking it if no one else is going, otherwise.
Sure.
Yeah. So it really goes back to the facts, Manish. The reason this competency becomes sexist is because of the lesser number of people in it, and because of a stereotype. So there is a stereotype of a tech person. As soon as I say techie, you know what comes to your mind. And it's definitely not a good looking, glamorous woman like one of us. Right?
Yes.
That answers the question. That this is very, if I say doctor or a lawyer, you're not going to think only a man. So the reason is because of the minority, and that minority feeds into the minority, because less is visible, so less are attracted there. And that's what is the issue here of competency. It's not an issue of competency.
Yeah, I would also like to quickly add on to that a very short point. I was reading today that what's the, let's say, evolutionary or historical reason that women are perceived as better in more caregiving roles, like your nurses and so forth. I think that has a lot to do with how society has progressed. So the more technology has developed, the more it has let and allowed women not to be just giving birth and nurturing for the offspring. So as technology has progressed, that has actually allowed both genders to become equally capable. So I think it's very much tied to technological progress as well. You will see that as technology progresses, these traditional gender roles will just dilute off more and more. I have friends who are male and amazing nurses, and I have friends who are female and amazing software engineers, or whatever other things that you can imagine, probably mostly men doing. So yeah, I do think it has a huge technological advancement has a huge part to play in it. Yeah.
Are there more questions?
Yeah, so there's a question from Rahika SICCI. So she has thanked all of you all for bringing some deep issues. So her question is, what is the one thing in all the women entrepreneurs which helped you to challenge the men counterparts and stand apart from the crowd? So who would like to take this question?
I can take this.
Okay, Cheetah, yeah.
I think I've mentioned in my talk.
It's so soft.
Yeah, sorry.
I mentioned in my talk session as well. I completely believe that it's all about grit and willingness to learn. Because if I came from a very different background, English, marketing, communications.
Yes.
I have picked up deep tech, right? So it's all about, and also I build a business as well. And all of us here, I think nobody knew how to build a business, but Deepika, be it Surbhi, be it SICCI, all have built their own businesses. So we can do, if we really have the willingness or the mindset to learn and have the grit, because it will take time. It is not a shortcut. You cannot just learn it in 1 day or 2 days or do a course of 1 month and you will be through it. So you have to see it through. So grit and I would say willingness to learn can really, help you stand, not only make you stand apart in the crowd. It's not about male or female. It's about, if you think, it's in your mindset. If you don't think, it's not in your mindset. So you can stand apart from the crowd and you can talk the same language with the same confidence about a machine learning algorithm like, a machine learning graduate would talk. So that's, I believe that's how you would like to take it up, and you need to learn the tricks of the trade.
I just want to add that I actually feel that absolutely what you said, Jeeta, but it's also the difference between us, between the women and the men, I think, is that our EQ is slightly higher. And I'm just saying generally, like I'm not saying specifically of a person to another person. So you just tend to read people better. And I think it's really important to use your heart and your brain when you're working. So we just tend to do that slightly better.
Yeah.
Yeah, do we have time to add one more point? I think these are two brilliant points. I'd also say that, a lot of times women tend to apologize a lot for their choices, for their ambitions, for the kind of decisions they're taking. Or is this right? Am I doing right by my family? Am I doing right by the society? I think the one thing that that the males at least do less often is that they do not apologize. If they decide on something, they stay the course. They take feedback if it is important, but they still stick to their goals. So for women, I think it's really important that you stop apologizing for your choices, be confident of what you've decided to do, and follow through.
True. If there aren't any other questions, I have one or two, but I'd rather have the general public asking the questions. Radha?
I think Ms Shobha, you can proceed with your questions. Yeah.
I particularly interested, and also the last question that was asked by one of our viewers, participants, is I think it goes to maybe Jeeta first, because she has a similar kind of background like me. I'm a master's in English literature too. I did a liberal arts background, and I don't know what made me start my business, and at a pretty old age. I was in my 50s when I started. So Geeta, it was amazing to see how you made this huge transition from Times of India, journalism and corporate communications, to being a product developer of AI, and starting your company. Who is your co-founder? Is it a man? Is he a techie? And, because you seem to have demonstrated that you can have absolutely no technological background and be like a literature graduate, postgraduate like me. And I started a company which was also digital, So tell us, as a younger woman and who's really in AI, I mean, cutting edge technology, how did you do it? And did you feel tremendous challenge? It was very difficult, or was it just that passion?
I would like to put it as a passion. I did not do it in the very first day, to be very honest, Shobha. So when we started, Abhishek, he has a very good pedigree. He has a master's in math. He's a Google developer, Google engineer. Then he worked in JP Morgan as a trader. So he made a shift from technology to trading, so technology to business. And we started the business together. So initially, I used to look at the operations and the business side of things. Then it was my passion, because if we are doing a product company, it's like we are building a software that helps banks or financial institutions stop money laundering. We are doing this actually. So we are helping banks stop money laundering. So if we are building such a product, I wanted to know actually what we are building, what are the nitty-gritties. I wanted to be part of it. So it was my sheer passion, I think, that, I wanted to be a part of this design process, because I'm just talking to clients, selling it, but without knowing the underlying things. A lot of times, because it is a consultative sale, it is an evangelistic sell. So you need to know the solution well. So it's a solutioning sell, I would say. So for that, it was my passion to understand what we are building. So in order to understand the facts, so I told Abhishek that I would fire myself from, other roles, and I would take up the product development or product management, a role, and I would lead that. So yes, it took me a lot of courage, and I had to go through a 3 to 6 months literal, I took a lot of courses, classes also. But yes, I started, learning Python as well. So yeah, coding Python. So I did a lot of things, but it took me some time, but yes, I managed to do it.
That's very interesting, and that's useful knowledge even for me. Thank you. And I was going to ask Surbhi. I already asked Deepika, I think, but I wanted to ask Surbhi because she kept saying, Surbhi, I think you said things like you had a role model in Micron, this engineer, this woman who was pregnant and who would go and do. But the thing is, when you started your company, was your partner also a woman? Because if only women started a company, would they find investment capital more accessible, or because they have a man who's a techie, which makes it more accessible for them? So in your case, did you consciously have a partner who was a male? Surbhi?
Surbhi?
I think she can't hear. Deepika, what would you say to that?
You've got to unmute yourself, sorry. Yeah.
Like I said in the beginning, Shobha, that I kind of can't differentiate between a man and a woman when I'm working, because for me, it's just a person and the skill set, which is most relevant. And like to tell you my first role model, I was just thinking through my role models when we were having this panel discussion. And honestly, they've all been men, because it's the skill set that really attracts me, and their drive and their passion that I want to emulate. So in my current company, I had partnered with a woman. I would say that, and in our last company, we raised over 42 million. And at that time, I had partnered with men. I would say that as long as your business makes sense, you can attract capital, because even capital is looking to support, its own growth through you as a vehicle. So they don't really care whether you're a man or a woman. It's more about the business.
Thank you. That's interesting. And you gave your own experience of having raised 42 million US with a male partner. Yeah. And
yeah.
we have time.
I think probably maybe we could call Mr. Johnson on board,
yes.
and then the Q&A session.
Now we don't have time, and I thought Surbhi would be able to tell us that. It's interesting, and Shikha too, I like your talk. Yours was very soothing, like a psychologist, soothing all the workers. Now, may I thank my wonderful secretariat of SICCI, and of course, our chairman, Dr. Chandru, who supports our wonderful board of directors, who are all very supportive of women and of SHE, and our very, very capable and smart CEO, Johnson Paul. He'll give you the final words, and I want to thank all of you for being here. And we look forward to the next third part of the series after the holiday season. Please be ready to be on board. Who knows, we might call you again, and it could be for the fourth or for the later ones, but you'll always be there, and you'll be very much a part of SHE. I hope all of you also become members of SICCI. You're most welcome. I think Radha and all will contact you on that. So over to you, Johnson.
Thanks, Shobha, for moderating this wonderful session. It is now my pleasant duty to propose a vote of thanks. On behalf of SICCI, I express my sincere gratitude to Chairman Dr. Chandru, Ms Shobha Tsering, who is the moderator and chair of SHE at SICCI, distinguished speakers Deepika, Jita, Surbhi, and Shikha. I also want to thank the board of directors of SICCI who are present at this session, primarily Vice Chairman Manish and Mr. Kishore. Most of all, I want to thank all of you who have spent your valuable time to be with us this afternoon. The issues discussed today are pertinent and will contribute to a significant part of our thinking about how women in tech would play a role in the economic recovery of Singapore. I hope you have benefited from this webinar, and hope you'll also allow us to connect with you in the future. Thank you once again and have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies. Have a wonderful Christmas and New Year.
Yeah,
And a wonderful year ahead. All of you
you.
young and vibrant and so inspiring.
yeah, thank you, Ms. Shobha, and thank you all for attending this session. Hope it was a fruitful one. This session's video will be up on Singapore Indian Chamber YouTube channel. And if any queries, please drop email to Radha, RADHA @SICCI.com. And please look out for upcoming SICCI's events on our Facebook and LinkedIn pages. And I'm wishing all of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Radha.
Thank you, Radha.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See you all.